This is what it's all about. These stones came from right here, from this locality. The largest cut stone here is a 4.26 cushion cut. You see they're all lovely blue color. We've got a lovely, nice big natural stone here too that just came out of the jigs today. This is where the bread and butter is right here, and this is the sort of stuff that we're hauling over to Eureka right now and washing. So that is between 1 inch and 1/8 of an inch. One of the things I want to point out, we are on top of the hill here. We're not down in a drainage. You do not need to have a drainage to have sapphires here. I think we could end up being certainly the major colored stone producer in the Americas.
Our marketing plan for Potentate is primarily to be in the business of selling our rough production. Potentate anticipates over the next few years to be producing a substantial amount of rough sapphire in all size ranges. Between 13 to 15% of the production comes with a nice natural color. Pinks, yellows, blues, blue-greens. And then the balance of the material comes with slightly greenish, slightly brownish. Those stones heat treat very well. So how do we access the test site?
You'll see. So we're right just about here, and in this mining operation, all these gray areas are areas that contain sapphire alluvials. Dick doesn't have anything on his map, geological map, to indicate a source rock, but because of this airborne survey that we've just done, here it is. What I think we have here are two near horizontal sills, one here and one here. And you note that there's virtually no sapphires north, but there's a hell of a lot of them south, down the slope. You'll see our plant in a couple of minutes. The plant can do about 50 or 60 yards, cubic yards an hour. That's running through a lot of material, and the sapphires collect in the jigs, and we periodically collect them and clean it out and see what we get. The stuff that we really want, which is the gold and sapphire bearing material, is in the finer fraction. It is traveling through a black pipe here. That would be the fine gravel with sapphires and gold in it. And then our primary recovery system is over here. We have 2 sets of jigs and a sluice box. And then the material passes over what we call a tattletale sluice. That just indicates to us if we're losing any gold. That's on the back side of this big jig plant.
At this point, it's happy hunting.
This is what Gem Mountain is all about, is when you can show up and find something like this in one of our gravel buckets. I'm utilizing the methods and the equipment and technology that Dr. John Emmett and his partner Troy Douthit perfected with crystal chemistry. The heat treating I do is considered natural within the industry, that we do not add any chemicals or fluxes to influence the color, and that the final color of the stone will, from a scientific perspective, be determined by the natural ratios of primarily iron to titanium within the stone. The vast majority of the rough sapphire here at Gem Mountain is predominantly a green color when it's found. The heat treating process finishes the chemical reaction within the stone to create the darker color saturation that most people prefer within a finished gemstone. All of these orders are tracked via computer with a written invoice and a detailed inventory sheet of the number of pieces, carat weight, and even individual stone weight. Starting yesterday, we completed a high temperature fancy burn. Many of the pale green sapphires will pick up a distinct yellow hue. At this point in time, one of the most tedious parts of the heat treating process is the color sort. We examine each stone that has an indication of orange or yellow color, and then frequently have to orient that stone so that we can look into the center to determine whether or not the color saturation penetrates deep enough to create a beautiful finished gemstone of that color. On Monday, after the blue burn is completed, a good 40 to 45% of these now green sapphires will be a very nice blue. Here we go. All right, we're safe. Perfect. Well, we should see what we got, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, they're blue. Nice. Fairly typical results. Around 45% of the stones are going to come out a spectacular blue color. I know there's always a lot of discussion, to heat treat or not to heat treat. In the case of our material here at Gem Mountain, there's just no question at all that the heat treating adds a tremendous amount of value.
Anytime you can get beer for rocks.
That's a good day, I guess.
That seems like a good trade to me. These sapphires here are Missouri River sapphires. They are found on the Missouri River outside of Helena, Montana. El Dorado Bar and Spokane Bar, both bars that we actively mine. These are the type of sapphires that come from here.
We'll start by heading upstream, and it's going to be about a 2-mile run and 2-mile jog upstream to look at the first mines in the Missouri River deposit, the French Bar and Lovestone Bar. Now this is French Bar up here on the hillside, and if you look real close at these hills, you can see notches in them where the river was flowing at that time. And we're coming up to the end of our trip upstream. This was Canyon Ferry Dam, built in the mid-50s with help from the dredge that mined sapphires and gold at these deposits. All right, everybody ready?
Ready.
Here we go. Now just to our left here is the very beginning of the Spokane Bar. This is the front corner, and then the sapphires go all the way down, through the property we have here.
So the sapphire bearing layers at the top of all this.
Yep, that's the bedrock. So when we're mining in our pit and we go down to bedrock, that's the material. Now real quick, you see this wooden ladder? That ladder there was from the 1800s, and they had a few guys working a tunnel that they had built into there. The next major deposits we're going to come across are the El Dorado Bar and Dana's Bar. El Dorado bar, as we know, has been extensively mined both in the past and currently. Dana's bar, however, is much harder to mine and is seldomly mined because of the deep overburn. As we progress down, this whole right-hand side of the water is all El Dorado bar. It's a very large deposit that has yielded some of the best sapphires on the river system here. And if you look straight out our right at 3 o'clock, yep, you see all the machinery up there?
There it is.
So you can see our mining operation up there on the hillside. The family first started mining here roughly 65 years ago. And what happened was the land where our office currently is at the Spokane Bar Sapphire Mine was up for sale. And my grandparents loved the idea of buying it for a place to go camping on the weekends. They purchased the land, owned it for a few years at that point, and one day my mother, who at the time was 6 or 7 years old, dove down into the lake, picked up a handful of pea gravel, and there's this little blue rock sitting in the handful of gravel that she found at the bottom of the lake. Found some more sapphires, and we've been mining ever since. The pay layer is the layer of material that is just above bedrock. It's alluvial materials. That material is the layer that has carried the sapphires downstream and deposited. The grizzly is a simple mechanism for classifying material. It's a big screen with 2-inch holes in it. Once we have the raw material there ready to run, we feed it into basically a feeder. Gives it a constant flow rate and feeds the material into the trommel. From the trommel, it washes and classifies it. Gets rid of all the sand, and it gets rid of all the rest of the big rocks. And all we're really after is the gravel, the 5/8 gravel to 1/8 gravel. That's our sapphire bearing material. The gravel then, sapphires included hopefully, go into our jig where they're separated by specific gravity. Sapphires being a denser mineral will get trapped in there along with gold, garnets, hematite, and so forth. And all the light material gets kicked out with no sapphires or gem-bearing material left in it. We'll then go down there and suck it out with vacuums and reveal the sapphires at that point. As we're mining these sapphires, we don't use any chemicals, we don't use any environmentally damaging methods. We reclaim and plant new trees and grasses that are natural and native behind us as we're mining. And we love the idea of keeping this state just as beautiful as the sapphires we're pulling out.